So I just got out. Well, not just. It's been a few hours since I left. I finished going to or returned from my local retro gaming convention, Portland Retro Gaming Expo, which is, by all accounts, one of the biggest retro gaming conventions apparently in the United States, which didn't quite realize that until now, that we had one of the biggies out here. I always thought that would have been a East Coast thing or a Chicago thing, and that's where Midway was, or whatever, or a San Francisco. I don't know. I don't know what they have for convention center space in San Francisco. I like California Extreme would have had the bigger thing for this. Anyway, so as I went this year, went to a bunch of panels, wandered the show floor, picked up a few used games. I generally had a very good time. Probably the big thing for me this convention, while I did enjoy the panels I went to, was that two of the big, I'd say three, light gun solutions for modern televisions were present on the show floor. Hyperkin's was not there, but two were. One was Intech's system, and one was Games, or yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Gaime, so I'm going to call it Game. The guy didn't actually say the name. He mentioned the parent company, which is Tassi, or Tassi Denki. So here's what we had. And actually, honestly, this was probably the best possible, not the best possible place to do it, but close. So what we had for the setup there is we had two different booths. Intech had their booth, Game had theirs, and they had their light gun setups. They had the selection of games available for play, and then they had then we did to try them out, and appropriately enough, both of their systems had Time Crisis 2. Oh, Time Crisis had a Time Crisis game. One had Time Crisis 2 set up. The other one just had regular Time Crisis. So this, appropriately enough, also on the show floor, was an arcade cabinet of Time Crisis 2, which meant I had possibly the best possible situation to do this, or at least second best. Actual best possible situation is trying it in an environment that replicates the home, the actual home in terms of lighting and that sort of thing, and then going to a free play night at Ground Control or to play the game at the next level pinball museum and arcade in Hillsborough. That's the best of all possible situations for trying this out. This is second best. This is pretty close. So, how that been try all these out? Both of these game units, their controller is very, very clearly modeled on the GunCon, which no objection to that there. The GunCon is honestly what I consider probably one of the two best control designs for a light gun in video games, with possibly the I like the Enforcer, or I think that's the official name. The big chunky revolver that Konami put out for the Lethal Enforcer games. That's probably my second best in terms of responsiveness for the actual, and also feel in the hand for the controller itself. But otherwise, it's like, if you're going to model your light gun after an existing controller, or existing light gun, that's a good one to go with. Games unit is I guess you call it a bespoke setup. It has a base unit with 4 games, or 1 to 4 games, depending on which model you purchase, preloaded on it as a mini console. And then it comes with with the gun, power cable, HD cable, and significant note is these games appear to be redone somewhat to run in a widescreen aspect ratio on a modern high definition television. And depending which model you get determines how many games you have, and also whether you get a foot pedal with it. Get to that in a second. And Games was very responsive in terms of the aiming process, in terms of how the accuracy felt. Their systems were reportedly, according to the pamphlet and the spiel I got from the salesperson on the show floor, uses a high-resolution camera and AI to handle the targeting and marking the accuracy. For them, I had, when I got started, I did a calibration with the gun, and as mentioned, both of these have you be at a distance where the technology in the device itself is such where it can see all of the screen. So you do need to have a fair amount of space. And actually, this is a situation where using a larger television is honestly going to be a detriment here. If you're doing a projector where you're just using the whole damn wall as Frank's 2,000-inch TV, go with God. You're going to have, you're far enough away that it's effectively, I don't know if that's actually going to work. But otherwise, I was about 6 to 8 feet away from the screen, which, that works in my living room. That there's sufficient space for that there. But not in the space where I'm doing game capture and such here. So that's that. And if your apartment is configured in a way where you just don't have that space, where it's couch on wall, your living room space is 10 to 12 feet wide. Not 10 feet wide, but 12 to 15 feet across. You have the TV up on one wall, and then you have a couch or other comfortable chair and a coffee table in front, and then your television. That's possibly doable, but you have to move your coffee table out of the way or that sort of thing. It's something where you have to really put some consideration into how the room is laid out to use this regularly. So there's that. But Games 1 was probably the closest in terms of accuracy from my observations to what I was experiencing on the Time Crisis arcade cabinet. I should also note that Game is the only one that did have me go through, or the demonstrator did have me go through a calibration process at the start of the session. And I don't know with the unit, whether you just calibrate it once and you're good, or you should recalibrate at the start of each session. There's that first. Also, minor issue. The basic version with the mini console only comes with Time Crisis as the game, but it doesn't come with a foot pedal. I had not looked over the pamphlet at the convention at that time, and forgot to go back and ask today. And this was yesterday, or day one of the convention, Saturday. I didn't go back and ask again on Sunday. So I don't know if this is a case where you push a button on the controller if you don't have the foot pedal to make up for it. Otherwise, also, it doesn't say how long the cable is for the foot pedal. Okay, but the foot pedal is wired, though. I mean, all of it's wired. Otherwise, it appeared to work the best in terms of proximity between what I was experiencing on the arcade version versus the actual thing. But that said, bespoke system, primarily direct arcade ports with work done, appears to be done to fit it in a widescreen, but also not actually going to be running. You've got the games that are on there, and that's it. No additional games available, at least at this time. Or if they did come out, perhaps you'd have to purchase them separately, or you'd have to buy another unit. Not clear. On the other hand, we had Intech Gaming and their Time Breaker light gun. I didn't get a good spiel from the developer, or from the demonstrator rather, on the tech behind it. I would just kind of put it in my hands and gave me hands-on, and didn't do calibration before doing additional work on it, before we actually started playing. And also possibly to its detriment, we were playing Time Crisis on a PlayStation 2 version of the game. More on that in a second. And we did not go, and it was stretched. It was not using native aspect ratio, it was going to widescreen, and it's kind of stretched out the sides. And I feel like accuracy ended up being at a detriment there. Or at least made a situation where I could not, in hindsight, tell either my accuracy issues because they're doing it in widescreen for the TV and it's stretched, or are the issues due to an issue with the gun itself. And if it is because it's stretched, if they do just have it, if they did basically do the thing that most retro gamers don't do, which is just plug the console straight into the game, the platforms, or the television's component video inputs, without going through, say, an upscaler like a RetroTink first, or an OSSC or what have you, like, is that part of the problem? Is this a case of the interaction with the television? And if so, would this work better using the RetroTink? Or perhaps would a RetroTink add additional complications that would cause an issue? Tests from my life in gaming have shown that the RetroTink does not add particularly any latency, so I shouldn't think that that'd be the problem, but I don't know. Unfortunately, another thing I admit I did not do was I did not take a look at the cable hookup setup for this gun. It didn't help that this is on the show floor. There are other people who want to take a look at the system and that sort of thing. That said, as I mentioned, this is hooked up to a PlayStation 2. This thing plugs into your PlayStation 2, it plugs into your PlayStation 1, and basically will work on any light gun game that will play with that. They also had a demo kiosk set up where they're playing, or second unit set up for where they're doing Duck Hunt. And I don't know if that is a demo that they designed, like an emulated, ported version of Duck Hunt, or if this is them working with an emulator on PC and a separate model. I had to go head to a panel at the time. I did not come back. And so I admit there are some gaps in this. That said, this is due to how the unit was being presented, the least accurate version. It also had some bit of comfort issues because the way it worked, set up, is the button that you use in Time Crisis to duck behind cover, they had on the butt of the gun where the magazine would pop in and out for an actual semi-automatic handgun. And that made for a bit of weird wrist comfort issues, because on the one hand, you hold a gun that way. Sort of, not really. You have your gun kind of hand on the front, supporting the like, and put this is, you have your hand on, my camera's not great for this, but you have your hand on the gun like that. And the problem is, with the way it's set up, you need to have your hand on the gun like that. And that actually makes, for extended usage and aiming, not comfortable. Not just from I'm working IT and have done help desk work and call center work for years, and my wrists are in bad shape kind of thing. Well, that probably ain't helping, but it made it not comfortable. And made for something where, like, the first that with games light gun, that was something like, okay, I could see myself doing an extended play session with this. The same way I could see myself, okay, on a free play arcade day, deciding, all right, this is the day I'm just going to freaking power through Time Crisis. So, that was an interesting experience. It's, on the one hand, I'm very glad to see the technology approaching, not exactly, kind of prime time, but almost, but not quite there yet, for playing light gun games on home modern televisions. I am interested in seeing what the Polymega light gun looks like and how that works as a comparison. That said, that handgun also, or light guns, is going to have its own separate problem, because at this time, the Polymega, which does, I believe, have a DVD drive in it, does not do PlayStation 2 games. And from the discussions I've seen on the Polymega Discord, the internals aren't quite good enough to do PS2 yet. Or at least at this time. Presumably they might have to do some overhaul work on the emulation to try and find a way to optimize things to run in that environment. But as it stands, it's not a system that, hardware-wise, can do PS2 games. And I don't know how you would go about if they did a Polymega 2 with updated internals that could do PlayStation 2 games. I don't know how you'd go about doing say, okay, here's how you port your game library over, instead of say, okay, you know how you spent a weekend dumping all your games to the internal hard drive that you installed on the Polymega 1? Time to buy a second M2 drive, and stick that into the unit, and then dump all your games again. We'll see how that would go, or if it would go at all. In any case, otherwise, I had fun, picked up some games, rounded out the Crash Bandicoot PS1 games in my collection. That was the big one. And I'm not buying as much games as I used to at Portland Virtual Gaming Expo. Part of it is actually Artist's Alley has become more and more of a thing here, which is cool. I like having these artists being able to put out their video game fandom related works at the convention like this. That's great. On the other hand, I do want how to put this. A lot of the older games, the game stuff, is not as easily there. I'm seeing a lot more, not easily there, but the games people are bringing tend to be the bigger ticket items. Now, some of this may certainly be the collecting scene stuff, related stuff. Oh, if you're the small stuff, that's good. Retailers are be well, it's not worth sticking a lot of these smaller ticket games into boxes and dragging them to convention. There was some stuff there. There were a couple NES games I did think about picking up, but decided against it. But even you might consider the chaff games that you would have there, the sports titles, your Madden 94, your Bulls versus Blazers, that sort of thing. Those are still going for $15 to $20. Now, that said, also when I was seeing those on the floor, those were full, complete in box rather than loose. So we're kind of at a weird spot in game collecting where those deals are still there. Definitely, but it's now almost, I'd say, hit a point where you're probably going to want to spend more, go to a convention like Portland Retro Gaming Expo, not because, yes, you'll probably find some deals and find some neat old stuff there, But if you're looking for, like, it is less I've come to the realization that this is less the situation where like next year, I'm not going to go to Portland Retro Gaming Expo with like, oh, I'm looking for something in particular. Like I'm hunting for this game and I'm trying to avoid anything else. Instead, I think like that approach no longer works. And instead, I think the goal is not the goal, but with the vibe of the convention and what's in the dealer's room, the better fit is have some like ideas, like here's the things that'd be nice to find, but otherwise just kind of go wandering and see what's worth picking and see what catches your eye. Don't think of this as I'm going to like if you think of this, if like I'm going to be laser targeted on like this is what I'm doing as a collector and I'm going to build my collection, you're going to be disappointed. Look at a bigger picture thing. Don't look at, or at the very least, look, if you're going to focus, Chris Kohler had a panel there about getting into collecting, staying into collecting, and getting out of collecting. And he basically made a very good case for why going for a complete system is a stupid idea. But instead, I would still say go, all right, because there were a lot of games for newer systems, and they felt like relatively newer, like PlayStation 4. Certain degree PlayStation 3, but like a lot of PlayStation 4, a lot of Xbox. Xbox 360 rather, and less so Xbox One. So that's basically going, you know, what I should do, or like what I should have done, is gone, okay, I'm just going to go look for, like, rather than saying I'm looking for Crash Bandicoot games, so I got lucky this time. Or I'm going to look for, I'm going to look for Final Fantasy games, or I'm going to look for Koei strategy games. Instead, like the tack I should have done is go, I'm looking for RPGs that I don't already have. Doesn't have to be in a series I'm collecting. Could even be from like the last gen systems. Give me my hiccups. Could be from grab a PlayStation 4 game. Whatever. Do that rather than going laser targeted on a specific game, a specific series. If you do that, you're kind of going to be not bored, but not have as much fun. Whereas approaching this perspective of, oh, I'm just going to peruse and see what I can find. And oh, hey, there's an Atelier game. I don't own it. I haven't started collecting the Atelier series, but it's an RPG and I like RPGs, so I'll pick this up. Think of it that way. Think of it like browsing Goodwill, like going to a big estate sale or that sort of thing. If you go to an estate sale saying, I'm looking for video games, I'm looking for vinyl records, I'm looking for this vinyl record, you're probably not, you're just going to walk away frustrated. But if you say, I'm going to go thrifting, or I'm going to go garage selling, and I and my partner are going to go and wander around and see what catches your eye. See what looks neat. Maybe it's something that you weren't expecting to pick up on your way there when you came. Maybe it's something that you weren't interested in getting to begin with, but didn't expect to see it there in the first place. What have you? Could be something that you're not collecting at all, but just looked cool and you kind of wanted. Either way, maybe what they're looking to buy retro games, but you bought a keychain, you bought an art print, you bought a laser etched water bottle. You still got something that you think that sparked inspiration, and sparked a sense of joy in you when you saw it and picked it up, and it made you say, "I wanted to get this." That is the way I think you want to the approach to Portland Retro Gaming Expo at that point is, as far as from a shopping standpoint. Otherwise, there's still the free play arcade, though also very busy. Not as much of the floor as it used to take up, but also it's a wider range of arcades bringing titles to play there. So kind of a mixed setup in terms of what games are available, like both what games are there to play and also what games are available, like they're there to play but are available, because like some of these games had real long lines. Like on the one hand, Virtua Fighter, not much of a line there. If you and your buddy wanted to knock out a game of Virtua Fighter, or just you wanted to see if you could get in the arcade version, that's perfectly available. That was fine. But if you wanted to get into some of the rhythm games, if you wanted to get in some of the sit-down driving cabinets, those were very busy. So that's that there as well. Standing out on one of the newer titles, though, I got hands-on with, actually not on the floor because it was always busy, but I went to the Retronauts meetup at Quarter World, and I got to play it there. It was Halo Fireteam Raven, which is a light gun game. Well, either light gun or sit-down cabinet game, depending on which version you're playing. The one at Quarter World is a light gun stand-up cabinet. The one on the show floor was a sit-down cabinet with the move around mounted cannon. And of the two, like, I suspect the other one's probably a little more accurate in its aiming, but otherwise it's fine. The actual play mode for the game is basically you're like a team of ODST that was on the Pillar of Autumn during the events of the main Halo games, and you're just kind of running in parallel to the events of Halo 1. With occasional intersections, like at one point in the first level, like basically, on first level, Master Chief comes through just doing his thing with Cortana and just rips through a bunch of enemies that were taking a lot of bullets from you, like it's nobody's business. It's kind of a nice moment that gets across. Like, hey, Master Chief is something, is to the average guy, something on the UNSC is something else. In any case, that was the convention. Panels were great. Went to the Retronauts panel. I went to Jeremy Parrish's panel on the other game systems. This is there was a big focus on the NES 40th anniversary, and Parrish's panel was on the other game systems that were coming out around the time of the NES's release. Because I'm fairly familiar with the story of the NES's when that came out. So having that alternative perspective of the larger context, which I think any retro gaming fandom tends to not necessarily pay the same attention to. It's nice having that context. It's part of the reason why for Nintendo Power Perspectives, I do have those like end of year, what else is going on stuff with Next Gen Magazine. So, otherwise, I enjoyed the convention tremendously. I put myself on the wait list for another of the planned sort of retro clone N64 consoles that's using a FPGA. But using an FPGA setup for doing the N64, and I'm looking forward to see. I'm hoping I manage to pick up one of those, because ideally, none of those things would have some sort of save data management setup built in, so I could keep track what's on the damn freaking memory cards. That's like one of my big holdups for doing stuff for Nintendo Power Perspectives, honestly. In any case, that's the broad strokes for how Portland Retro Gaming Expo went. I'm going to go back next year. I've missed a few years, but I'm looking forward to going back, and I think I've got a better plan in mind for how things are going to go. So we'll see how it is. If you went to Portland Retro Gaming Expo, please let me know in the comments. Let me know what your pickups were, if you had anything. Catch you later.
Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe, and also consider backing my Patreon. Patreon backers get episodes up to 1 week early of this show and any future Let's Plays. Also, please consider backing my Ko-fi. Tossing me a few bucks also helps support the show, and it's not a monthly obligation or anything like that.